Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to make the dress that you've just seen at the beginning of the video. It's a Pinterest inspired mesh dress. This is also a modification of our summer mesh top that we just did in our previous video. So this is going to be a continuation of some sort, and if you have already worked on the top, you can skip over and continue to work on the dress. But if you haven't yet, we're going to start from scratch and we create this beautiful dress. And for the materials, I used this yarn. It's Flores, and each ball is 50 grams. So you'll need about 3 to 4 balls just to be on a safe side. But I used approximately 3 balls. And then you'll also need a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. This is my 3.5. You'll also need a pair of scissors, a measuring tape. You'll need any accessories. For me, I will use some shells, sequins, beads, and then you'll also need a small darning needle, a very tiny one that can go into the holes of your accessories. So for example, we have these sequins. Make sure that this darning needle can go into that little hole of the sequin, and that's how we're going to be attaching these charms, or whatever you want to call them. If you have any beads around, or doesn't matter the color. So for me, I'm going to use these, and then I use some sequins, I use some shells, and then you also need a darning needle to weave in your ends on the dress. So let's jump right into the video. If you like the written pattern, it's already available on all my online shops, and I'll be leaving all the links in the description box below. I'm going to start off with a slip knot. You're going to roll over your yarn like this, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, and yarn over, pull through, and then pull on the tail. That's how I do my slip knot. And then you're going to make a chain that runs from the center of your chest all the way to the center of your breast. So for me, I'm going to consider 16 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I am making for a size small, and I have done a total of 16 chains. For all the other sizes, just look on the screen and follow the instructions as needed for you to get your desired size. So I have 16 chains, or whatever number of chains that you've done for your starting chain, and you're going to go into the 4th chain from the hook. So you're going to count from this one, 1, 2, 3, and into the 4th you're going to place a double crochet. You're going to double crochet all the way across your starting chain until you get to your second last chain. Alright, so I've just placed a double crochet in the second last chain, and I have only 1 chain left. I am going to go into that last chain with a total of 3 double crochets. Chain 2 and 3 more double crochets into the same exact chain. This will bring us to the opposite side of our starting chain. As you can see here, it's like we've moved all the way around like this. Now we are going to work on the back side of our foundation chain. You're going to go into each and every chain along the starting chain, but also make sure you weave in this tail as you go. So I'm going to hold the tail along the starting chain, and I go into each and every chain with a double crochet, only 1 double crochet into each and every chain, but also wrapping around the tail that we left behind at the beginning of the row. So you can see I'm working around that tail so that I weave it in as I go. Continue to double crochet once in each and every chain. All right, so we are on the second last chain here, and you're going to make sure that you go into the last stitch, which should appear like a chain 3. Make sure you go into it with a double crochet, and that marks the end of row 1. This is what your work will look like. For row 2, you're going to make a chain of 3, which counts as a double crochet. Turn your work, and you're going to go into the next stitch with a double crochet. The chain of 3 is attached to the very first stitch, so you don't go into the first stitch because it has already gotten the chain of 3 that counts as a double crochet. Continue to double crochet in each and every stitch across until you place a double crochet in the double crochet before the chain 2 space at the top of the bra cup. All right, I am currently placing a double crochet into the stitch before the chain 2 space, and then into the chain 2 space this time around I am going to place 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets into the same exact stitch, into the same exact chain space, sorry. So 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets into the chain 2 space, and then you're going to go ahead and place 1 double crochet in each of the remaining stitches until the end of the row. All right, so you should notice that you're working in a U shape. I've come to the end, and make sure you place a double crochet on top of the chain 3 at the end of the previous row. So this is what we have. You'll notice that you're working in a U shape, something like this. You keep going back and forth. That's how our rows look like. We're going to just repeat row 2 again and again until we have enough coverage for our bra cup. I'll be recommending a number of rows. So you chain 3, turn your work, double crochet into the next stitch, and continue to double crochet once in each and every stitch until you get to the chain 2 space, which will get 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets into the space, and then you continue to place 1 double crochet in each of the remaining stitches until the end of the row. I will be recommending a number of rows to make for the different sizes, but make sure that you keep trying on your piece as you go so that you can decide for yourself how much coverage you want for yourself. There are people who would like maybe their cleavage out, and then there are those people who want a modest kind of fitting. So as you work, don't take my word for gospel truth. Keep trying on your top and make sure you get the coverage you want for yourself. And yeah, I'm just going to repeat row 2 until I get my desired coverage, and I'll be back to let you know, to show you what mine will look like after some more rows. Alright guys, so I ended up with a total of 8 rows, and this should fit as small. And for all the other sizes, just check on the screen. I'll be recommending a number of rows for the different sizes. Now, once you get your desired number of rows, you're going to try it on so that you can make sure that this can cover one of your breasts entirely, from the middle all the way to the side, because this time around we are placing our bra cups like this and not like this, the usual way. We are placing them like this. So once you're done with this, we are now going to create a mesh pattern towards the side of our bra cup. All right, now you're going to take your full bust circumference. I'll be considering a total of 32 inches, and then you're going to subtract 4 inches from your full bust circumference, regardless of what measurement that you end up with. So 32 minus 4, that is a total of 28. And then you're going to divide that number by 2. So 28 divided by 2 is 14. Now that 14, you're going to take a measurement across your bra cup when you place it like this, and try to stretch it out just like this. And I have about 8 inches. I'm not going to overstretch. So remember the 14 that we got, you're going to subtract this measurement from the 14 inches. So 14 minus 8, that is a total of 6. So the mesh pattern that we are going to work towards the side should be a total of 6 inches extra. So to create the mesh pattern, you're going to make a chain of 4, which counts as a double crochet chain 1, and then double crochet into the space between the next 2 rows, as you can see here. Chain 1, skip the next row and go in the space between the next 2 rows. So you're going to continue to chain 1 and double crochet in between the next 2 rows. And you're going to do this until you reach the exact middle of the bra cup. Alright, so I'm continuing to chain 1 and double crocheting in between the next 2 rows. And this is the exact middle line of the bra cup. I'm going to go ahead and do this one more time so that I get past the middle section of the bra cup, just like this. And then I'm going to make a chain of 4 and turn my work, double crochet into the next double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the next double crochet, chain 1, and you're going to repeat this all the way down. This is row 2 of mesh. So when you come to the end, you're going to skip over 1 chain here of the chain 4, and into the next chain you're going to place a double crochet. So we're basically going to repeat row 2 of the mesh pattern until we have a total of 6 inches. Remember our final measurement, our final figure that we got after doing all the calculations. I ended up with 6 inches, which was a difference between the 14 inches and the 8 inches that I got across the bra cup. So I'm going to continue working until I get my 6 inches. So repeat row 2 of mesh until you have a total of 6 inches, or whatever measurement that you ended up with after making your calculations. You just make a chain of 4 and turn your work and double crochet in each of the double crochets from the previous row, making sure that you make a chain of 1 in between each double crochet. Alright guys, once you get this measurement right, remember I had a total of 6 inches when slightly stretched. Consider your measurement when slightly stretched. So I've done a total of 12 rows of mesh, and I'm going to make a chain of 1 and cut my yarn. That marks the end of my very first panel, and this is what it looks like. Now I'm going to repeat the same exact process that I have done for this piece so that I have 2 identical pieces. So my second one is here. You can see we have the same exact thing going on. So after your last row of mesh for your second piece, this time round we are not going to cut our yarn. Leave it connected to the ball of yarn. Just remove your hook like this, and then you're going to place it in a way that it is facing so that the mesh pattern is on the edges. This is what you'll have, and make sure the pointed part of the bra cups meets the 2 pointed parts. Now I'm going to get a small strand of yarn and attach the pointed parts into the chain to space. I'm going to just use a strand of yarn and I'm going to attach the 2 bra cups together, just like this. You can use a double knot, and then later on we shall use a darning needle to weave in the excess yarn. And now we are going to go ahead and skip a few stitches along the sides of the bra cups and then create a flat chain that is almost running along the flat edge of the bra cups. So what I'm going to do is to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I'm going to be recommending a number of stitches to skip. Now 12 stitches for size extra small, and since I am making for a size small, I'm going to skip 12 stitches, but for all the other sizes, just check on the screen. I'll be recommending a number of stitches to skip along the side. So after the chain to space, you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And into the 13th stitch, you're going to place a stitch marker. You're going to do the same exact thing on the opposite side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And into the 13th, I'm going to place a stitch marker. So just to give an illusion of what it will be like, I will make a chain that runs here, and it's almost on the flat edge at the base of our piece. So you're going to get a separate strand of yarn. Remember, this one is still connected to the ball of yarn. Don't break it. So you're going to get a short strand of yarn and make a slip knot, or attach it in any way you wish to attach it, and you're going to go into that stitch with the stitch marker, just like this. And for me, I'm going to make a chain of 20, but for all the other sizes, just check on the screen. I'll be recommending a number of chains to make across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 10, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So I have my 20 chains, and I am going to go into the stitch with the stitch marker on the opposite bra cup and insert my hook, pull through all. That is a slip stitch. So just try to lay your work flat. Make sure it's not so strained in the middle section. So once you're comfortable with that, you're going to make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn, pull through, and this is what we have. You can remove the stitch markers at this point. This is what your work will look like. Now we're going to go back to the corner that's still attached to the yarn ball, which is this one, and we are going to work a mesh pattern all the way across our work. So to do that, you're going to turn your work so that we are now facing the bottom part of our piece, and we are going to make a chain of 4, which counts as a double crochet chain 1, and then go in between the 2 rows. At this spot, you're going to place a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet in between the next 2 rows, chain 1, double crochet in between the next 2 rows. All right, so we're going to repeat this all the way across the mesh pattern. All right, so we've made it across the mesh pattern, and this is what you should have. We are now going to go with a chain 1, skip over the last row of mesh, and double crochet into the next stitch, which is the very first stitch after the mesh row. Chain 1, skip 1 stitch, double crochet into the next, and you're going to repeat that all the way across until you get to the chain that we just placed in the middle of the 2 buttercups. So chain 1, skip 1 stitch, and double crochet into the next stitch. All right, so this is what we have. Once you get to this point, I've ended with a double crochet in the stitch before where we attached the chain. So what I'm going to do is make a chain of 1, skip over that stitch where we attached the chain, and go into the very first chain of the middle chain of the 2 buttercups, and then continue to chain 1, skip 1 chain, and double crochet into the next chain. Chain 1, skip 1 chain, double crochet into the next chain. So we're going all the way across, creating a mesh pattern. So we've come to the end of the chain in the middle of the 2 buttercups. You're going to continue to make a chain of 1 and double crochet into the next stitch. So this is a big one, so if you feel like this is quite big, you're going to go into that stitch where the chain attached, as you can see here. So from here, you're going to just mirror the same exact thing that was going on this side, and do the same exact thing on the opposite side. So chain 1, skip 1 stitch, and double crochet into the next, all the way across until you get to the mesh pattern, where you go ahead and do the needful just as you've done on the first half of the piece. All right, so we've come to the end of the mesh row, the very first mesh row that is worked across both bra cups, and this is what you should have. Now we're going on to row 2. For row 2, it's going to be quite easy because we've laid a foundation for the mesh pattern. So you're going to just make a chain of 4, turn your work. The chain of 4 counts as a double crochet chain 1, and then double crochet into the next double crochet. This time around we are not going to go into the chain 1 spaces. Just make a chain of 1 and double crochet into the next double crochet to maintain the mesh pattern. So you're going to do this all the way across until the end of the row, and then I'll be back to show you what to do next. All right, so we're coming to the end of row 2, and when you come to the end here, you're going to make a chain of 1 and skip over 1 chain of the chain 4, and then go into the next chain with a double crochet, and that marks the end of row 2. We're going to keep working this until we get to our waistline, the upper waistline, and I'll be letting you know how many rows that I ended up doing, but most probably I'll do a total of around 14 or 15 rows. So let me just keep working row 2 of the mesh pattern again and again until I get to the upper waistline level, and then I'll show you what to do next. We shall turn this piece into a beautiful dress. Alright guys, in order to get to the waistline level, which is the upper waistline, I did a total of 13 rows, and this measures a total of about, let me say, about 6 inches. I'm slightly stretching out my work downwards because I know that on body this piece will be stretched as well. So about 6 inches, but do what you have to do. If you're to add more rows or subtract a few rows depending on your body type and your body measurements. So this is what I have. I've done a total of, from here, I'm counting from here, have a total of 13 rows. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 and 13. Now you're going to take a measurement across your last row of mesh. Mine is about 22 inches. Don't overstretch your work, just give it a slight stretch, and for me I'm considering 22 inches. I'll stretch it in a way that this is exactly how you want to see your mesh when you wear it. If you want to see it overstretched like this, then go ahead and overstretch it. But for me, I'm going to just give it a slight stretch. And okay, let me consider 23 inches instead of 22. So you're going to take your waistline circumference. I'll be considering 27 inches. And then you're going to subtract what you've gotten here. So 27 minus 23, which is a total of 4 inches. So substitute the figures with your own measurements. Your waistline circumference minus the measurement that you've got across your last row of mesh, and the figure that you end up with. For example, for me, I have a total of 4 inches. You're going to make a chain of 4 inches and attach. You're going to fold over your work like this. So you're going to make a chain of 4 inches. Okay, so 4 inches we said. So I've done a total of 20 chains in order to get 4 inches. Make sure your chain is not twisted, and you're going to attach into the third chain of the first chain 4 of the last row of mesh, and place a slip stitch. That way we've created a round, and when we take a measurement across this, you should have half of your waistline circumference. So the waistline circumference that I am considering is 27 divided by 2 is 13.5. This should be able to stretch to 13.5 or even beyond. As you can see here, it stretches to this, but it also goes beyond to about 15 inches, which is perfectly fine. So once you do this, you're going to make a chain of 4. Another thing is you should make sure that you have an even number of chains for your extension chain at the back of your dress. So you make a chain of 4, which counts as a double crochet chain 1, and then you turn your work. This is going to be round 1. So you turn your work so that you're working in the opposite direction of the previous round or row. This is going to help us have a consistent kind of flow of pattern for our piece. So you're going to skip over the next chain and double crochet into the next. Chain 1, skip 1 chain, double crochet into the next. You're going to repeat that, chain 1, skip 1 chain, double crochet into the next. We are now introducing the mesh pattern across the extension at the back of the dress. Chain 1, skip 1 chain, double crochet into the next. So you're going to repeat that until you have only 1 chain left for the extension chain at the back of the dress. So here we are. I actually have 2 chains, but it doesn't matter. Make sure you make a chain of 1, skip over that last chain, and double crochet into the next double crochet. So if you end up with 2 chains here, just skip over them and double crochet into the next double crochet. So we've gone back to the body of the mesh pattern that we already have. You just make a chain of 1 and double crochet into the next stitch. So do that all the way around, and I'll meet you back towards the end of round 1. And then I'll show you what to do next. Alright, so we've come to the end of the round, and I'm making a chain of 1 and double crocheting into the last double crochet of the round. And then you're going to make a chain of 1 and slip stitch into the 3rd chain of the first chain 4 of the round. Now you're going to place your work flat, as you can see here. Just place your work like this so that the extension is at the back of the dress. The extension is in the middle line, sorry. So that the extension is in the middle line. And then you're going to get 2 stitch markers. I have my 2 stitch markers here. I'm going to mark the side stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm counting so that I have the same exact number of stitches towards the side, but you can just eyeball and place your stitch markers on the sides of your piece. And now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm just making sure that I've balanced both sides. And now we are going to pick up from where we left off, the end of the previous round. This will be round 2, and this is the round that you're going to keep repeating, so pay attention. You're going to make a chain of 4, which counts as a double crochet chain 1, and then turn so that you are working in the opposite direction of the previous round. Double crochet into the next stitch, chain 1, double crochet into the next, chain 1, and keep going until you get to your first stitch marker. Remember, we have placed 2 stitch markers. So I'm double crocheting. I'm creating the mesh pattern until I get to my first stitch marker. All right, so the stitch marker is in this stitch. You're going to remove it, and then you're going to make a chain of 1, and then into that stitch that had the stitch marker, you're going to place 1 double crochet, chain 1, another double crochet, chain 1, and another double crochet. So we've placed 3 double crochets separated by chain 1 spaces, and then you're going to mark the middle stitch with a stitch marker. For the next round, this will be your increase point. And then you're going to continue, chain 1, double crochet into the next stitch, chain 1, double crochet into the next stitch, and you're going to keep doing this until you get to your next stitch marker, where you will do the same exact thing that we've done here, creating an increase. So create the mesh pattern until you get to your second stitch marker, and I'll meet you there. So we've reached our second stitch marker. You're going to remove it and then make a chain of 1 into the stitch that had the stitch marker. You're going to place 1 double crochet, chain 1, another double crochet into the same stitch, chain 1, and another double crochet into the same stitch. A total of 3 double crochets separated by chain 1 spaces, and then you mark the middle stitch with a stitch marker. This will be the increase point of the next round. And then continue with your mesh pattern, chain 1, double crochet into the next stitch until you get to the end of the round. All right, so we've come to the end of the round. As you can see, I've finished placing a double crochet into the last stitch of the round. You're going to make a chain of 1, and then into the third chain of the first chain 4 of the round, you're going to place a slip stitch. And then you're going to make a chain of 4, which counts as a double crochet, chain 1, and then you turn your work and repeat round 2. Create the mesh pattern until you get to the stitches with a stitch marker, where you will create an increase, and then continue with the mesh pattern until you get to your second stitch marker. Create your increase the same exact way that we've done for round 2, and then wind up your round. So I'm going to just repeat round 2 again and again until the base of my piece, you can see the direction of the piece is already changing. So you're going to make sure that you take your full hip circumference, and then you're going to make sure that when you stretch your work from corner to corner where the stitch markers are, you are going to make sure that this can stretch to half of the hip circumference. So the hip circumference that I'll be considering for this piece is 40 inches, and I'll make sure that I have half of the hip circumference, which is 20 inches. For now, I'm still at 15, and I'm going to keep working round 2 until I get to my 20 inches, which is half of the intended hip circumference. So keep doing round 2, and I'll meet you back when mine has grown to that level. Alright guys, you can see how the increases are behaving. Your work will start spreading out in order to create room for the hip circumference, because it's usually bigger than the waistline circumference. So remember, we repeated round 2 until this could stretch to half of our hip circumference. So if I stretch, I can get to 20 inches. It can go a bit beyond, but this is a good stretch. So once you get to that point, it's time for you to remove the stitch markers. We no longer need them. And at this point, you're just going to go all the way around, creating the mesh pattern. You just make a chain of 4, which counts as a double crochet, chain 1, and then turn your work and double crochet into the next double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the next double crochet. So you're going to repeat this, and when you get to the increase points, you just repeat the same thing here. You don't create another increase. So let me go all the way to here, and I'll show you what to do when it comes to this part. Alright guys, once you get to this pointed part, you're just going to go ahead and chain 1, double crochet into the next double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the next double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the next double crochet. So you're just going to pass by normally without creating an increase at this point. This time around, we're just creating a plain round of no increase. So keep working your mesh pattern all the way around, and when you come to the end, you will slip stitch on top of the 3rd chain of the first chain 4, just like we've been doing at the end of every round. And you're just going to keep working plain rounds until you get the length of the dress that you want. Mine is going to be quite short, but I'll let you know how many rounds that I ended up doing. So you can see this side is still pointed, but this side, the direction has changed. Now we are moving all the way down so that we don't create any more increases, because we have achieved the width that we want around our hips. So just keep working in rounds, and make sure you're always working in the opposite direction of the previous round by turning your work after the chain 4 at the beginning of the round. So let me go ahead and work my piece, grow it in length, and I'll be back to show you my final results. Alright guys, now we're coming to the end of the very final round, and this is my 32nd round, right from the point where we joined in the round. So I'm just going ahead to make a chain of 1, double crocheting into the next double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the next double crochet until the end. So I'm going to make a chain of 1 and slip stitch into the 3rd chain of the first chain 4 of the round. Then I'm going to make a chain of 1 and cut my yarn. So you're going to repeat that round until you get the length of the dress that you want for yourself. But for me, this is a total of 32 rounds, right from where we joined and started working in rounds. So we are now going to create this effect. We are going to get a few beads. If you have any charms, make use of them. And for this, I'm going to use these beads here. This is a bigger size. Then I have a smaller size here. And then I have some shells. So just use what you have. You can use colored beads or whatever you can access. And another thing that you will need is a darning needle. A small darning needle that can go into the spaces of the beads. I also have some sequins here, so I'll make use of them as well. So you're going to go to the base of your dress. You can see I've already attached one here. I just made a shell and then a big bead, then 2 small beads, a big bead, a small one, a sequin, and then a small bead, and then a big bead. Then joined into that line after the 2nd row from the base, the 2nd row of mesh. So we're going to go ahead and repeat the same process. I'm going to be showing you how I did this one, and then you'll go ahead and keep working around the base of your piece. So for my second one, I'm going to start with a sequin. So you thread your small darning needle with a white thread because we used a white yarn for our piece, and then you can make a double or a triple knot here just to secure the very first piece that you've decided to use, whether a sequin or a shell, whichever is comfortable for you. So you can make a triple knot, and then you go ahead and grab maybe a bead. So I'll put a big bead, and then maybe 2 small beads, and then a big one, and then 2 small ones. You can put 2 or 1, so this is going to be up to you. You can play around with the placement, and then I'll put 1 other big bead, and that will be it. I'll just make sure that the length of these ones is almost similar, so you can see that. And you're going to go into, because this one was attached under this stitch, so I'm going to attach under the next stitch. You're just going to sew everything together, just back and forth. Make sure you secure your beads, and then after this you can cut off the excess yarn. So that way we have 2 of them ready. So I'm going to just go ahead and keep alternating between either having a shell or a sequin at the base. I think that's what I'm going to go with. And then you can also cut off this excess yarn, but make sure you don't cut it next to the knot. You can leave it there like that. So we're going to repeat this process. The next one is going to have a shell at the base. So just like we did for the previous one, you just make a knot to secure the very first charm. And then you start attaching your beads. So you can even go ahead and you skip a stitch or 2. In case you don't have so many charms to work with, you can skip a stitch and then attach onto the next stitch. So as you can see here, your details are going to keep piling and looking more and more beautiful as you keep attaching. So I'm going to go all the way around, and I'll meet you back when I'm through with mine. Alright guys, after going all the way around the base of my dress, this is what I came up with, and it is very playful, very beautiful, and you can see how the sequins are reflecting a golden color once the light hits them. It's just giving a very luxurious look, and it's a very beautiful effect that's being created at the base of the dress. And you're going to go ahead and weave in all your ends, and let's see the final look of our project. If you enjoyed this project, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more amazing content. And don't forget to also check out the written pattern on all my online shops. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.